Good morning. My name is Arianne Huene and I am a landscape designer here in the Comox Valley. I am also a member of the Comox Valley Horticultural Society, and you should be too. So if you're not, please look into joining at our website. And this is the Serenity Gardens at the Kingfisher Oceanside Resort and Spa. And they were built in 2018, so most of what you see here is new. There was essentially just lawn and a few small beds that have been incorporated since then. And it's all, we've got 150 linear feet of water features, we've got a pond, we have many plantings, and this was designed to be a 4-season garden that provides year-round interest throughout the whole year. And right now it is still going strong. We've got all of our late summer color coming through, and the Salvias are still going strong, the Perovskias, the Hydrangeas, Rudbeckias, they're all going full tilt. Rudbeckia Goldstrom in here. We've got the Russian sage, which is just one of the longest blooming plants that you can have, and it's got white stems that will persist into the winter, which is nice. So if you put them in front of something else, they're just fabulous.
We have some in our front garden, and the bees love it in the summer, and in the wintertime the birds go after the seeds.
The seed heads, exactly. So it does double duty that way.
It's multi-season.
And I'm a real fan of the Salix purpurea nana, which is these small purple osier willows. And they can get quite massive if you let them, but if you keep them nice and tidy, they just add a real sort of softness and lushness to especially a area that's around water. Got some irises tucked in on the other side, a number of Japanese maples that are sort of weeping over and softening the edges. This fabulous flash of bright coral, which is Schizostylus. Which is absolutely lovely and doing really well as a marginal plant, and I've seen it in dry conditions as well, so it's very versatile. And then pondside patio space, which is just the most lovely when the fire pit is on. And then up in the top, the really dangly one that's over next to the red Japanese maple is a Diorama pulcherrimum, I believe it's how it's pronounced, and it's Angel's fishing rod. And the Angel's fishing rod, it comes out in the spring and late summer with drooping pink blooms, pinkish purple blooms, and then it just ages, and it looks like a grass to most people, but it's a perennial. And then coming in along sort of our beachy area, and lots of marginal and aquatics all in there.
No fish.
The fish are hiding. There is a couple, but they have been picked over every now and again by the herons. The herons love this as a fishing spot, but there were a bunch of them in here.
I'm sure the kingfishers have enjoyed that as well.
So the kingfisher has these two wings. There's an older wing, and then there's a newer wing that was done in 2019, I believe. And so all of these new plantings in front of the new wing came in at a later point. And we've got some oak leaf hydrangeas, sedums, and then along in front of the new wing we've got a lot of more shade tolerant plants. So ferns, the maidenhair fern, the Japanese holly fern, we've got a small Philadelphus, some of our native ferns, the deer ferns, the Blechnum spicant, as well as some shade-loving grasses and carex, fatsias, hostas, and then some sparkle, so some Coreopsis moonbeam for a bit of sparkle, and some fuchsias. We've got some really awesome Veronica royal candles, which are just gorgeous.
Action.
So a lot of Japanese anemones, their claim is late summer and then fall interest. This is a particularly fabulous short dwarf variety, and if you look on the back of the petals, you get that little flush of violet or blue, and they're just a little bit shorter. So if you've got a spot where you really want one, you can fit it in, and it doesn't become as large, but you get that little bit of extra hint of color on the back.
And they're okay in direct sun.
They're okay in direct sun, yes.
Action.
So I am here with David Bossom from the Kingfisher, And David and I designed this garden together. David and his crew did all of the hard work and graft on the pond and on the streams, and putting in all the beds, putting in the pathways, lifting pathways, doing the bridges. Can you take us through a little bit about how that process worked and some of the surprises that we found while we were digging?
Oh, it was actually really cool and interesting. Like Arianne said, Arianne and I designed and built these gardens. I did have a landscape construction company at the time. We built this, and we sold the company, which is now why I'm working full-time at Kingfisher, maintaining the place. But with this construction, a few facts to start with. For the rocks in here, we have over 80 tons of soil. We have 16 dump trucks worth of soil brought in. It took us 5 months to build it, and which was pretty good and quick. And then we finished up in the fall with a little bit more work. We did the irrigation. There's 17 zones of irrigation, and
150 linear feet of stream bed, is that right?
give or take.
Multiple waterfalls, a bog
Yeah.
area.
The bog, 15 by 12 bog to filter, 4 feet deep to filter the water in the pond. The pond is 30 by
30 by 25,
25,
something like that.
give or take. We want to end up a little bit smaller because we had some bricks and stuff in here. We found actually just up on the side the old swimming pool, which we had to jackhammer out and pieces off to run the stream and piping and stuff through. There's 7 fire pits and the gravel pathways, and all really, really cool stuff. What's really nice is the gravel pathways, because we have the paver stones everywhere, but you come off the formal paver stones onto the gravel pathways with no edging on them, because it's nice and informal, and the nice textile sound of walking across in the field, the crush, and which is why we use the cart path, not the bigger crush. So it has a real nice feel to it and a real nice sound to it. With the other aspects, we use the blue blasted stone, which came out of Campbell River, and because it has the beautiful look that we were looking for, as opposed to a beach look, is right here, because this is when Arianne did the plant design for it, we did it in sections. That this was the, correct me if I'm wrong, what was the bottom section here? Because this was the tropical on this side.
We've got a few different areas, yeah, and each of the niche patios was designed with a slightly different flair to it. So there's one patio that's over on the far side that's encircled with grasses. There's a couple other patios that have more of a sort of Japanese, sort of Asian-inspired feel. Anywhere where there's a stream or a pond or a water feature, there's more grasses and softer sort of riparian plantings. And we've tried to sort of weave native plants in where they worked, and they're starting to sort of take hold, and everything's really putting on a huge amount of growth over 2 years' time.
Yes.
So now we'll have to start editing out those things that are getting a little bit too big for this
But
space.
when we did
and
plant, we actually overplanted
intentionally, yes.
so that we could actually thin out, and we had basically, as we call them, sacrificial plantings.
That's right.
That we take out and we can move them elsewhere in gardens or other jobs, or basically, because on the property we were going to be doing more work, but with the COVID situation, we have not worked on the gardens in the front. We're going to be redoing that at some point in time. And the plants from here, we're going to go to those gardens out there. And but it keeps these gardens full until they fill in.
And everything that you see here right now is all perennial plantings. We didn't actually, because of COVID, we didn't have the opportunity to do annual plantings as we normally do. So there's still an amazing range of color in through this space, and it's all perennial color, which is pretty fabulous.
And I have to say, with COVID, yes, we are within 6 feet, but we are in the same bubble, so we are okay. So people taking the pictures are way further back, just to clarify, so those of you that are wondering, we share the same bubble. Now, a couple of little things with the construction too. If you really look at the property, the slope of the land goes from the south side to Courtney, south side being higher, and the restaurant side basically being lower down. So when we created the streams, and then from the lobby to the ocean, obviously slopes towards the ocean, but the streams, as we come down to the big pond here, which you can't see from this location, flows with the slope of the land, but on the side stream that flows towards the new wing over here, and then goes under the path, we actually have a grade change, and so the one small stream ends at the path, and it's a brand new stream on the other side that picks up, that comes down, and down to where the swimming pool is. And our slope from the path to the corner where it turns by the patios, which you can take them through later,
Yes.
is think we were maybe an inch and a half grade change. It was
Very
so
shallow, slow.
right on the edge. But it was really cool what we built when we come to the stream off the bog that goes under the path. It actually, you gotta look down inside and you see where the water flows under rock through a little hole, and it looks like it goes actually down under the path, but it goes into river underneath. But it's a really cool obstacle. Like, you need to take a look at it. Very few people actually stop and actually look and see what goes in it. It's the coolest little thing that we created. But yeah, outside that, it was a really, and it rained.
An amazing build, and it rained a lot. I think they were digging in the snow at some points when the original pond was, when the first pond was going in.
Yeah.
So yeah, all weather conditions for the crew, and a big build, but a really amazing project to be involved with, and one that I'm very appreciative to have been brought on for. So
we have a pond store, just a side note, which we kept at our house up on O'Brien Road, 1 kilometer north of Artnap. And the really kind of cool part is the inspiration for the gardens here was when the owner came to our house to look at another for a friend of his place, which is basically, long story short, the owner came, saw our backyard and said, we need this at the Kingfisher. And that's how this all came about.
and we made it happen.
So the inspiration is up at our place. If anybody ever wants to go and check it out and take a look and check our spot while they're at it. But just a little side note.
I guess we'll film your place next.
Yes.
Action.
So this is the piece right here where I was talking about referencing a small stream, and the grass is actually growing up right now, but as the water comes in through here, and it comes in under the rocks here, and it comes right into here and disappears right underneath, so it looks like it goes right under the edge. So you may or may not see it because of the darkness, and then the ripples just line up beautifully with the ripples behind on the stream as it goes further out that way there. So it just looks like it just flows right through.
It looks seamless, but isn't.
It's just a really good optical illusion.
Oh, so that stops there.
It stops here,
Yeah.
and that's a brand new stream that's totally separate
And slightly higher.
and slightly higher.
So just in front of the old wing, nice water features, which weren't here before, so these are new. I really love these bubblers, and the birds must like them too.
In the winter time, this goes all year long, and the ice formations on this are absolutely spectacular.
What's this little green plant?
Well, it is supposed to be Acanthus whitewater, but it's not looking too happy. And then there was an angel, Senecio angel wings that was also in there, but it's also looking like it's maybe getting some slug damage or something. So
Is that Oregon
something
grape in the back?
that is not Oregon grape. That is the Japanese holly fern, which I'm going to, Critomium, I believe, Rockfordianum, something like that. And then some daylilies, some Holisticum, which is the sword ferns, some peonies in the spring, and this is one of my favorites here. For part shade, this is Smissifuga or Actea simplex, and I believe this one is Black Beauty. And it has these tall, these flower stalks will just go up and be these white spires that come up, and it's just got that delicious dark foliage. Some Carex, blue zinger, some rhododendrons. And I love this Coreopsis moonbeam. It just blooms and blooms and blooms for ages. And in a shady spot, they like full sun to part shade, and they just really pop in the shade, I find.
And what is that against the chimney or against the wall?
That, we've got a Ilex sky pencil, which is a sky pencil holly, and a Fatsia japonica, which is Japanese Aurelia. We've got some painted Japanese ferns down on the bottom,
And do these bloom? This Aurelia bloom?
it sometimes does. The blooms are fairly insignificant, but mostly grow it as a foliage, and against the stone of the backdrop. That's what we really wanted, was that contrast between the lush, broad palmate leaves and then the stone on the walls.
Nice fuchsia.
This is an intersectional peony, And there are herbaceous peonies that die down to the ground, and then there are tree peonies that stay and with a framework all year long and just lose their leaves and are deciduous. But this is an intersectional, which is a cross between the two, and I believe this one is Julia Rose. And it has beautiful sort of pinky, creamy, yellow flowers and just a fabulous range of color within each individual flower. We've got some ferns and there's lots of spring bulbs through here as well that have all faded, of course. Some of the native maidenhair ferns, which are Adiantum pedatum, hostas, all sorts of lovely stuff.
And a stream flowing as well.
Another stream.
Yet another stream.
So this is the back side of the new wing. This is the parking area, and I didn't want this parking area to be just, carpet roses and, gold mound spireas and just sort of your basic parking area. So we've really gone with some fun plantings in here, and it does get quite hot in the afternoons. So we've been able to do some really interesting, fun stuff. We've got more of the eucomis, the pineapple lily, the Niphophia. This is the red hot pokers, but these ones are yellow and they're called mango popsicle. Pineapple popsicle on these ones. And we've got a grevillea in here, which is a zone 8. This is it's a fairly tender one, and it'll get fairly large eventually. And it has long tubular flowers that the hummingbirds really enjoy, and it will bloom all year long sporadically. We've got a lot of the Pennisetum, the bunny tails grass, which are just a lovely, lovely late season grass. Some of the echinaceas, okay, I have to show you this. We've got a few cannas in here. These cannas, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the variety, but they overwintered right here under the eaves, and they actually made it through the winter. And I was excited to see them because they've come again, and there's a few of them that have survived, so that was really exciting. I think there was even a banana that made it through the winter as well, which is sometimes hit and miss here. So lots of the imperata, which is the Japanese bloodgrass, which is the sort of the rosy grasses that you see in the background. And then for structure, these grasses are evergreen, and these are a really great one. They're called Carex testaceae prairie fire, and they will keep their color all year long. The reason that I use them here is that I really wanted to pick up on the cedar, the stained cedar tones in the walls, and so they're a really nice echo to that. And they add a nice softness through the space as well. And we've got some heathers that are blooming, some dwarf conifers. We've got a nice little blue spruce in there, some of your blue star junipers, a weeping spruce. We've got a burning bush down the end. So quite a lot, again, of variety here. And it does change quite a bit from, through the seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. But that's what gardens are supposed to do. So these gardens are not low maintenance gardens. Kingfisher does have a crew of keen gardeners and staff to keep these in good shape. But most of it is fairly straightforward. There are perennials that need to be cut back. There's some pruning that needs to be done on a yearly basis, repetitively. The dogwoods and the willows that need to be kept into good shape because of their stems. We really want those stems for winter color, so those need to be clipped back regularly because it's the young stems that give a lot of winter color. As they age, they get darker. But otherwise, everything is again growing in, and as Dave mentioned earlier, the sacrificial plants, as shrubs take on their full size and their mature shape, we'll try to weed out things that are underneath and give them some space to grow. Lots of weeding, but we try to keep a good steady mulch on throughout the season.
What's this shrub here?
This is Euonymus alatus compacta, which is the burning bush.
Ah.
And so it's just starting, as you can see on the tips here. Just starting to go and get some scarlet color, and this is really hard to beat for fall color.
And you said compactus, so it's a small version of...
It is a small version that can be deceptive. I think it gets to 12 by 12, but I think compactus stays a little bit smaller at 8 by 8.
Gorgeous. We have one that's a bigger one and old too.
Yeah.
Really stems as thick as my
Thick
arm,
stems.
but
Well, and that's the other neat
gorgeous.
thing about them is because they've got that fabulous winged bark. Their bark sort of has little edges all along it. I don't know if you can see that in there, but
Yep.
there's ridges all along there. And so you get that lovely little detail in the wintertime once it's dropped its leaves. And they often produce a small red fruit as well.
I know the birds love our bush. They're hanging out in it all the time, all
well,
seasons.
Berberis is good for that as well. I really enjoy the berberis, even though they're deciduous. We've got some nandinas tucked in, and we've got salal that's starting to take hold. I do love salal as a great native shrub to include. The nandina, I think, is bonfire or perhaps sienna sunrise, so it's got some good color on it as well. Fair bit of weeds over here. That's okay. That happens even in the best of gardens.
Weeds have their place.
As some of one of my favorite designers says, nobody got arrested for having weeds in their garden, right?
Not yet, anyway.
So one thing that we were really concerned about when we designed the garden, David and I, was sightlines, because people are paying to stay here and to enjoy these beautiful rooms. So we wanted to keep the sightlines open as much as possible. So we tried to keep a max of sort of 4 or 5 feet for most perennials and things, and then to have sort of very tall columnar vertical accents that wouldn't take up too much space, but would give a little bit of height to the garden without overtaking the view. So this garden is right as you exit the lobby, looking out to the ocean. We've got the Bruns Serbian spruce. We've got, this is a calacarpa, and I think this one, if I'm remembering correctly, is called Profusion, and it is just absolutely dense with berries on it. It's just in flower now, and this is the beautyberry, which has all these just masses and masses of glossy, metallic purple berries. And then we've also, this is definitely a purple themed bed. We've got some of the Euconis sparkling burgundy. And then these Calla Lilies are just going over, and they're a purple variety. And I can't remember the variety, but you can see the seed heads there. Oh, here we go. And then contrasting that with the Senecio angel wings, which is the glossy, lovely, silvery foliage. And these overwintered. I couldn't believe it.
Those are from South Africa originally, I believe.
Yes, and they're an amazing plant. They're just, and they are as soft as they look, by the way. And then we've got a phormium, purple phormium in the large pot here, and then transitioning around to the side, we've got the salvias, and this is caradonna. Literally, this has been blooming since May, and it will just bloom and bloom. And with salvias, what you can do is, just to keep that bloom going, you can cut them down and deadhead them, and you'll see there's another bud coming right in here, a whole nother one. So if you keep deadheading, I know it is a little bit of extra work in the garden, but it'll just really give you that extended season of bloom. All of these carex were hacked back just to tidy them up, so they're looking a little scraggly, but they're coming back in. And then we've got the very top of all the water features right up in here and trickling down. Eventually, once this other wing is done in a few years' time, this wing will also have the same sorts of plantings out in front of it and water features out in front of it. This is just going absolutely crazy here. This is a Acanthus mollis, which is bear's breeches, and just a fabulous big perennial. They can get a bit thuggish, so just put it in the right spot. This might end up needing to be moved if it's starting to take over the pathways here. And then across the way, I'm loving this combination right now. We've got the Rudbeckia, which is Goldstrom, and then the Berberis Rose Glow, very prickly, against the soft pom-pom cypress. And this is one of our niche patios here, and this is the one that's all encircled with grasses, which is been a really nice effect, and it looks fabulous in the wintertime. So that's a tour of the gardens. I hope you enjoyed it. There's so much to see. You can come in the spring and see something completely different, and come now and then come in the fall again, and come and enjoy the restaurant here and the spa and stay for a couple of evenings if you like. But that's a little bit about the Kingfisher Serenity Gardens. Thank you, and please feel free to like the videos for the Comox Valley Horticultural Society, because that really lets us know that what we're doing out here, doing these virtual open garden tours, that you're enjoying it and it's helping you survive the COVID challenges. So thanks very much.
Arianne, thank you so much on behalf of the Horticultural Society, and I know you're a member and our webmaster, but you're also a wonderful gardener, landscaper, and this is beautiful, and you've done a wonderful job.
Happy to share it with you, so thanks very much.
Thanks for showing us.